Hello and welcome to Spectrum TV News at 12, coming to you live from the beautiful hills of Ibiakuran. I am Raymond Ita. Let's take a look at the headlines. Federal government to open second Niger bridge for 1 month during Yuletide. CBN Governor Mefele insists on cashless policy. Plus, Mexico considers asylum for Peru's impeached President Pedro Castillo. Many thanks for staying with us. We begin the news this afternoon with a report that the federal government has disclosed that the second Niger bridge will only be open to traffic from December 15, 2022 to January 15 in Abuja. Said the federal government is taking the measure to relieve pressure from the bridge currently used for the Christmas festivities. He said that even though the construction of the bridge has been completed, work is still ongoing on the road linking the bridge to the major highway. In another development, the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, has said the federal government will review the criteria used by the Development Bank of Nigeria, DBN, to disburse loans to medium and small-scale enterprises to ensure geopolitical spread. Ahmed gave the hint when she appeared before the Senate at a committee probing the alleged uneven disbursement of the 500 billion naira federal government loans already given out to MSMEs by the DBN. Senate President Ahmed Lawan, while commenting on a motion by Senator Mohammed Ali Ndume, had set up the ad hoc committee headed by Sani Musa to investigate the matter. Ndume had claimed that the Southwest, especially Lagos State, had the largest number of the loan's beneficiaries. Meanwhile, the senators have demanded that the loan disbursement Welcome back. Now, moving on, the Minister of Mines and Steel Development, Olamilekan Adegbite, has said that the completion of the Ajaokuta Steel Company will not be feasible anymore before the end of 2022 due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. Adegbite made this known in Abuja at the presentation of the achievements of his ministry during the 9th edition of the President Muhammadu Buhari Scorecard 2015. These ministry's achievements, he noted that 11 companies were presently involved in the concession bid for the Ajaokuta Steel Company. Recall that in previous reports, Adegbite had also blamed the Russia-Ukraine war for the delay in the planned takeoff of the full operation of Ajaokuta Steel Company. Away from that, the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Godwin Emefiele, has said the Nigerian economy was overdue to go cashless as the federal government has sufficiently invested in the required payment system infrastructure to make the transition seamless. Emefiele stated this shortly after meeting President Muhammadu Buhari at his native hometown of Daura, Katsina State. Defending the CBN's directive while responding to the National Assembly's rebuttal of the policy, Emefiele did not wish to make life difficult for Nigerians, but only sought to better the economy, adding that the CBN would publish the names of all of its 1.4 million super agents to ease the return of owed monies in unbanked communities. We move to the judiciary, where the Cross River State High Court has again ordered the Nigerian police to arrest and produce a retired Assistant Inspector General of Police, AIG Joseph Mbu, for prosecution. The court ordered Inspector General of Police Usman Alkali Baba to produce Mbu at its next sitting on January 9, the arrest on the defendant, before adjourning the case till January 9, 2023. Recall that the state government earlier this year arraigned the former AIG over the alleged murder of Ayuk Etangon at the Bendere Kim Etung local government area of the state on December 24, 2018. On electoral matters, the chief of the compromised the elections. He, however, allayed fears of a curtailed process while calling on Nigerians to put their trust in the security forces as they remain wholly committed to remaining neutral before, during, and after the exercise. Irabo, who appeared on the ministerial media briefing anchored by the presidential communications team at the presidential villa, Abuja, said security personnel specifically come under pressure through sundry inducement, noting that measures are being put in place by the hierarchy to ensure that the men obey the directive to remain neutral, notwithstanding. He said personnel are being trained to be more professional in their dealings whilst
extraterritorial elements who really do not want to have us live in peace, who really do not want us to move forward. I am also aware that, of course, the war economy has affected a good number of people, and so that now that we are making progress, they think that status quo ante, we need to return to it. So those inanities by Reuters, in any case, you said you would interview 33 women over a period of how many years, 2013 to date, and then you were able to conclude. What kind of extrapolation is that? You don't want to have us live in peace, who really do not want us to move forward. I am also aware that, of course, the war economy has affected a good number of people, and so that now that we are making progress, they think that status quo ante, we need to return to it. So those inanities by Reuters, in any case, you said you would interview 33 women over a period of how many years, 2013 to date, and then you were able to conclude. What kind of extrapolation is that? We are not unaware of the fact that there are extraterritorial elements.
In the meantime, a world-leading policy institute and think tank forum, Chatham House, has invited the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, to discuss his plans for Nigerians ahead of the February 25, 2023 presidential elections. Obi, former governor of Anambra State, is expected to attend the event slated for January 16, 2023 in London, the United Kingdom. But the event is part of a series of events and outputs examining Nigeria's 2023 elections. Recall that on December 5, 2022, the All Progressives Congress APC's candidate Bola Tinubu made an appearance at Chatham House, where he mostly also delegated questions to his allies and revealed some of his plans for major sectors like defense, economy, education, and technology. On the efficiency and lapses of the Nigerian whistleblowing policy and network for the protection of citizens who are courageous enough to report corruption and illegalities in society. The coalition lamented the decrease in interest among Nigerians with regards to reporting cases of corruption, noting that whistleblowers in the public sector are faced with harassment, suspension, and outright sack. The rights group stressed that many victimized without any form of protection are discouraged from making disclosures on wrongdoings even when they see one. Recall that the Abuja Declaration and illegalities, but also has a right of freedom of expression, which is a fundamental human right that needs to be fully protected. We move to Africa, where Equatorial Guinea's President Theodore Mbasogo, who holds the world record for time in power for a living head of state, excluding monarchs, has been sworn in for a sixth 7-year term. Mbasogo, who has been in power since 1979, has ruled with an iron fist in the face of a muzzled opposition with more concerns over the legitimacy of the landslide victory of the presidency's PDGE party, which claimed 94.9% of the vote. On the foreign scene, Angola will host the Organization of African, Caribbean and Pacific States OACPS meetings that precede the 10th summit of the heads of state and government that starts this Friday in Luanda. Reports say the fight against poverty, sustainable development, and integration into the world economy of the countries that make up the Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States remain the major objectives of the organization, and these will be the major flags of Angola, which now assumes the rotating presidency of the OACP for the next 3 years. Georges Chakoti, Secretary General of the OACP, says the heads of state of the member countries are expected to commit to the consolidation of solidarity, adding that on Saturday the work is expected to end with the news. Brazil aims for semi-finals with match against Croatia today. Stay with us. Welcome back, and many thanks for staying with us. We move to the foreign scene, where the Justice Department is reportedly asking a federal judge to hold Donald Trump in contempt of court for failing to comply with a subpoena issued this summer, ordering the former president to turn over records marked as classified. The development comes after Trump's legal team said it conducted searches at 4 locations just before Thanksgiving, finding 2 documents with classified markings at a storage facility in Florida. The Trump team turned over those two documents to the FBI and announced to a federal judge in Washington, D.C., District Chief Judge Beryl Howell, who oversees the federal grand jury proceedings, that the searches were not satisfactory. A Trump spokesperson, STVNg, said in a statement that the ex-president and his counsel have continued to cooperate and be transparent despite the unprecedented, illegal, and unwarranted attacks by the Department of Justice. Still on the foreign scene, the United Kingdom and Italy have announced that they are teaming up to build a sixth-generation fighter jet designed to rival the best warplanes now employed by the likes of China and Russia by name, but said the new fighter jet is needed because threats and aggression are increasing against the rules-based free and open international order. And while the British government has said development of the new warplane is expected to begin in 2024, and it is expected to be flying by 2035. It will showcase technologies from each of the three partners. Reports say all three countries are part of the US 5th generation F-35 stealth fighter program, under which all three fly the F-35, and versions of the warplane are assembled in Italy and Japan. The new jet is not expected to affect the F-35 program. And then accused of rebellion in a dramatic turn of events on Wednesday. Castillo is now in custody in Lima, although his asylum request has been sent to Mexico's president via a lawyer. Mexican Foreign Minister Marcelo Ebrard says two countries are now discussing the issue. Recall that Castillo was removed from office after he tried to dissolve Congress while facing an impeachment vote in the opposition-controlled legislative body. We move to business news, where the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, and the Department of State Services have met with key stakeholders in the midstream and downstream oil sector. At the meeting, all participants agreed to work together to clear the persistent queues by motorists at the Major Oil Marketers Association of Nigeria, Depot and Petroleum Products Marketers Association of Nigeria, Independent Petroleum Marketers of Nigeria, the National Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers, National Association of Road Transport Owners, among others. Executive Secretary Maman Clement Isong said operators would ensure that they implemented the decisions reached at the meeting. And while the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry (LCCI) has expressed concerns over Nigeria's deteriorating risk profile following the recent downgrades of the country's sovereign risk profile by three leading global default risk rating agencies, Director General of LCCI, Dr. Chinyere Algona, going by the government's revenue and expenditure framework for 2023. She called on the government to explicitly address the issues flagged by multiple global risk rating agencies and announce measures to de-escalate the risks arising from them. In health now, the World Health Organization has said that Nigeria bears the highest burden of tuberculosis and pediatric HIV, while accounting for 50% of neglected tropical diseases in Africa. The WHO said although the prevalence of malaria has declined from 42% to 23%, Nigeria contributes 27% of global cases and 24% of conference of the Association of Nigerian Health Journalists on the role of the media and how Nigeria can get it right on health security, universal health coverage, and National Health Insurance Act. He added that the Global Health Agency from Alma Mater had continued to provide technical support to member states, including Nigeria. Still in health, the World Health Organization says Uganda has received 1,200 doses of an Ebola candidate vaccine against the Sudan Ebola virus. The doses arrived 79 days after the outbreak was declared. The WHO Africa region, however, said it will conduct a clinical trial, which will be conducted in 2022. Uganda health authorities declared an outbreak of Ebola disease caused by the Sudan virus, following laboratory confirmation of a patient from a village in the Madubu sub-county, central Uganda. Reports say as of November 30, the outbreak has infected no fewer than 100 for follow-up. And now in sports, Brazil wants to keep the dancing going at the World Cup when it faces Croatia today, with a spot in the semi-finals on the line. The Brazilians have made it clear they will not back from their goal celebrations in Qatar, despite criticisms by some. Brazil coach Tite said winning is their culture and not about disrespecting the opponent. Recall the Brazilian players had said before the tournament started that they had several that is led by Luka Modric and trying to return to the World Cup final 4 years after falling short of the title against France. Still in sports, 2 American coaches have arrived in Asaba, Delta State, on the invitation of the Athletics Federation of Nigeria, AFN. Head coach of the Mississippi State University, MSU, Coach Chris. According to AFN head coach Siga Bobeni, the 2 Americans are in Delta to partner with the federation led by Tunabuk Okowa. Reports say Chairman of Delta State Athletics Association, Solomon Ogba, who is a former AFN president, welcomed the 2 American coaches to the state. Ogba assured them on our entertainment scene, a legal counsel for Oladapo Oyebanji, otherwise known as the Bench, has maintained that the singer is innocent of the allegations leveled against him by the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC. Olajegbesi also demanded the release of the singer while calling on the National Assembly to probe the allegations of diversion of the identities of the authority the singer allegedly colluded with. Recall that the ICPC had on Wednesday announced that it detained the Bench over the alleged diversion of N-Power funds. Meanwhile, Nigerians have called on the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission to name the politicians and government officials And that's all we have time for you on the news at 12. Do ensure to follow us on social media. And do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find at spectrumtv.ng. Thank you so much for watching. I am Raymond E.